Today we're discussing the Amarna period. We haven't done much of the discussing because we've been doing announcements and giveaways and cake and stuff like that. But we'll talk for another, maybe about half an hour or so, all about the Amarna period. I had a great question from Lena about like what makes the Amarna period like so compelling to me, and there's something about it's the difference between every single other part of ancient Egypt. It is the most recognizable art in ancient Egypt. Like, technically, yes, if you see an ancient Egyptian object, you're gonna be like, that's an ancient Egyptian object. But unless you take my courses, I'm plugging my courses on Patreon. Unless you take my courses on Patreon, it might be hard to tell what time period that these pieces come from. If you take my courses on Patreon, I do think that you will be able to recognize a lot of the pieces better, and you will be able to tell what time period they come from. I do believe that. How it is. So, check out my Patreon. The tiers are now much cheaper. There are new tiers, and free tiers are able to go see the newsletter all the time. So, I do have to go and backlog so that people can read the past newsletters, but I'll do that later. So I just love the thing about the Amarna period, and it's just so different, and it's so interesting that somebody would take the step up and decide to change everything. Essentially changing everything that he ever knew and anything that his entire family would ever know. And there's something about, I was saying, I really respect and admire people who do things because they want to, and don't care what other people say. As I mentioned earlier, two of the best examples are Lady Gaga, like early Lady Gaga and Miley Cyrus prior to, right after Hannah Montana. And like, especially in her like, short hair phase and half naked on a wrecking ball. Wait a minute. What are you doing, Claire? Can't Be Tamed. Yeah, Can't Be Tamed, Miley, absolutely. And then Bangers. Bangers is one of my favorite albums. Like, truly. It is literally like so good. Jack Horner? Who's Jack Horner? I don't know who Jack Horner is. It sounds familiar, but I don't know who Jack Horner is. Oh, a paleontologist. I don't know paleontologists. He did his own thing. Okay, cool. I'm glad. He cuts up. Is that a good thing? I'm gonna make a Tapper. Jesus Christ. It is a good thing. Okay, I'm just making sure it's a good thing. Because there are definitely rebels that like do things that are not acceptable, but like that obviously I would not like. Oh, his boss. Oh, that's what I thought. He looked familiar. Is he the guy? Is he the one that he talks about in his raid video? What? HD and HP. Hello. Make sure it gets into dinos. Gotcha. But yeah, so there's something about that I always admired about the Amarna period, about Akhenaten. Actually, I'm gonna do this as well. Which one do I have to eject? This one. I'm gonna get my my disk drive that has all my Egypt photos, and we're gonna look at the Amarna period pieces that I saw. Is all no you are. Okay. Open folder. Ooh, okay. God, my computer is so slow tonight. So what we are going to briefly do is I'm going to show you guys some pictures that I took of when I was in Egypt. I actually thought that I sorted some of this, but... Oh, favorites. No. That's not what I wanted. Let's do Cairo Museum. Oh, here we go. I did sort them. I sorted them by the museum. This is a movie. Media player. Go, always. Please, computer. It's so slow today. Freya, thank you, my love. Oh, thank you, HDHB. I shouldn't have done a video. I forgot these were videos. My computer. Okay. Computer, can you do anything normal in what I'm asking, please, and thank you. So the Amarna period, for those who don't know anything really about it, really focuses on a very short time period in the New Kingdom during the tail end of the 18th dynasty. The really key thing is that this is all during the reign just before Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun's reign is sometimes included into the Amarna period because a lot of the art that appears in Tutankhamun's lifetime is similar. Still has some of the Amarna elements while not being necessarily in Amarna. HD and HB, thank you so much for the subscription, for the 3-month subscription. Thank you so much. Many more. Yeah, we already did candles, we did giveaways. Absolutely, yes. Many more to come. So many different updates, new website, new everything. Oh yes, technically yes, it is not my stream anniversary. MelissainDeNile is special. It has 2 anniversaries. So this is yesterday, technically. Yesterday was the anniversary of MelissainDeNile starting originally as a blog and an Instagram. I did not start streaming until November 24th. And so we do a separate stream anniversary. We will do a 12-hour stream this year. That is all focused on streaming stuff. This is more other stuff that's going on. We will probably do a 12-hour stream this year. We got to decide on what we're going to do for that. I'm actually so happy. Usually, unfortunately, the 24th of November sometimes falls really close to Thanksgiving. And so we've actually changed it so that we don't celebrate it on the 24th. We celebrate it the Saturday before Thanksgiving, essentially, just to make it simpler, just to make it easier. So like for my schedule and such, I think the Saturday before Thanksgiving is the 23rd. So we're actually very close to the date rather than being a couple days away. I'm gonna eat my cake during the ad. I love those little frog arms that Claire has. Little flappy arms. They're just so cute. What hats? Which hats? Yeah. The ones that go over the shoulders. Which one? The Nemes? Which one? So here's the big man himself. This is Akhenaten. Oh, the bowling pins. Are you talking about the bowling pins, Dapper? Which one are you talking about? The bowling pins or the Nemes, which is the one that sits over here and has the stripes? Oh, the one on the Sphinx. Yes, that is called a Nemes, Nemes, Nemes. It's essentially it's like a day-to-day crown, sort of. It's not like a full crown, but it's essentially a piece of cloth that would sit over, like, it kind of had like a skull cap or such. Like it would be kind of tight in this area, and then it would sit over the back, and there was a thing that went down the center, and then there were 2 things that went off to the side. And then star is correct. No, just the monarch. Though you do sometimes, well, you do see, what's it called? You do see, what's it called? That's okay. I know. The ads are really fast today. I don't know why. But yes, only for the monarch. But you will see the Sphinx wearing it. That usually means that the Sphinx is supposed to be the monarch. So, oop. The thing is, it doesn't tell me when the actual ads like end for everyone else. It told me that it already ended by now. I think 7 seconds has passed. So the Nemes was only worn by the monarch, but you will see it on the Sphinxes because the Sphinx is supposed to be the monarch. But yeah, it's a special regalia. It's not really, I don't like to call it a crown necessarily because I feel like it's more day to day. You'd see them wear. Oh, Baha, you are so lovely. Oh my goodness. Baha has gifted a sub to Claire. Oh, you are so lovely, my Baha. Thank you so much. Sorry, Dapper. So Dapper, it's a kind of headcloth / royal regalia and such that only the pharaoh would wear. But the Nemes what's make it special, and it also sometimes would have the Uraeus, so the snake and the vulture, or mostly just the snake. And then it has those stripes. It's kind of a day-to-day crown. It's not like only kings would wear it and stuff. Yes, it's like, again, it's like that day-to-day thing. It's like you're gonna see the king wearing it a lot, because, as Star said, like, common people were also wearing a similar thing that was just simpler and not as like elaborate and such. But then they also would have the red crown and the white crown, which is the bowling pin one. They also have the blue crown, which is like a military crown. They have the Atev crown. There's so many different crowns that go to either pharaohs or gods. And so, but the ones that you would see the king probably in the most is going to be either the red crown, the white crown, or this Nemes headdress and stuff. Yes, HD. So you can see here, this is our Akhenaten. Obviously the statue's unfortunately in really bad shape. But so I will like precede this with, I'm an art historian. Mainly the ways that I have been taught are in art historical theory and why people would depict themselves in certain ways. So I'm not on the more history word or on the more medical side and stuff like that. So keep all this with a grain of salt, but it is the theories that I have read kind of all get put this and that. Claire gets the emotes back. So when it comes to Akhenaten, he does have a very, very feminine face shape. Let me see if I can find a better picture of him. Here we go. A very feminine face shape, very feminine body type as well. Very wide hips, this low hanging, like chubby belly, the pot belly, exactly. He does have quite large breasts. They definitely are in a very strange way. I know this is going to sound weird. They are definitely more masculine breasts than feminine breasts. They're moobs. Yes. They are not, they are large, but they are not like round like women's are often. So it's a very interesting thing. And then the face portion is a lot of like very interesting chiseled features. You can't tell it here as much. This is actually probably Tutankhamun. No, Dapper, this is how it works. This is what you have to talk about in the Amarna period. I hate to say it, to like actually talk about it. So here's the blue crown, actually. This is the Egyptian gallery in the Egyptian Museum, but this is specifically the Amarna room. I'm trying to see where I have a better picture. That was me crying. We'll talk about that in a second. So here's another image. So very large lips, very pronounced chin, very, very squinty eyes, and again, like the low hanging belly, and you do get the elongated head. The elongated head is kind of a separate instance that like I don't really, unfortunately, you got some moobs. You have some moobs in some cases, but age of moobs. Write this down. Write this down. It was the age of moobs. But yeah, so, sorry, I'm going back to, yes, yeah, Lena, exactly. It's giving hourglass. It's giving curvaceous. They've got big butts. You always see the belly button, which is something you don't often see. You see it sometimes in Amarna or in other Egyptian art, but the belly button is always very pronounced. Look at other. This is harder to see, but again, these like very pronounced lips, very pouchy, very like lots of filler in their mouths. Very like pronounced chins, and like no matter what. Their little pouch belly will always be is like insanely elongated by them wearing these very high back skirts that would literally like hit you probably in the middle of your back and go all the way under your belly to like even more accentuate it. Very long toes, very long legs. Everything is very slim on the legs, but very like voluptuous on the arms, or sorry, on the body. Again, we'll talk about the daughters and the heads in a little bit, and we can talk about this. So here's the best image we have of Akhenaten. Here, in this case, he is wearing a sort of Nemes headdress, but it's not nearly the same, but then he does have the red crown and the white crown on top of it, and the uraeus, the snake. But yeah, you can see here, like, very pronounced cheekbones, very long. And so the thing about Akhenaten and the thing about why he changed the world and that changed how ancient Egyptians saw each other is that he was mainly focused on the god called the Aten. The Aten was not a new invention by Akhenaten. I always want to press into that because I feel like people think that it is. It is not a new invention. Aten itself just means sun. It means sun disk. It was kind of emerging as a god or as a probably more like a religious figure or religious symbol. But I wonder what celebrity you're thinking of. Yeah, very crunchy. Very, very crunchy art. He also has these very long, the narrow almond-shaped eyes. And so RuPaul, he kind of looks like RuPaul. I can't believe you said that. That's actually kind of true. So the thing with Akhenaten is he was a priest. He had an older brother. He's the son of Amenhotep III. His name is Amenhotep IV. Or not technically, that's not his real name, but technically he was born and named Amenhotep, and was thus Amenhotep IV. He was a priest originally, and he had an older brother who died, who was supposed to be heir. This makes me do a lot of psychoanalyzing into the reasons why Akhenaten would change. And I think it is from, he saw how the priest would, it was a fake beard. Yes, most of them are fake beards. In some cases, you can actually see the strap that goes along their back chin, but most of the beards that you see are always fake. They're like a ceremonial beard that you would attach with like a strap. He was the spare. That is very true. He was the spare. So yeah, so honestly, that is not that bad of a comparison, because if Harry ever had to become king, I could see him flipping everything on end because of how he was treated and because of the things that he saw and a lot of things. I could see Harry absolutely like flipping the entire monarchy off, or like essentially dissolving the monarchy or something like that. I absolutely could see him doing like that. Something very similar to Akhenaten. Truly. This is an actually true thing. Akhenaten was in the priesthood. He saw how the priesthood was running. And then the other thing is that he around that time, the priesthood is becoming more powerful than the pharaoh itself. And that was probably something that was very evident to him, and was probably one of the main reasons why he was like, fuck this. We're not doing this. We have to change this. We have to do something. And so he turned everything on its head because he wanted it to be different, and he didn't want that priesthood to take up so much space, essentially, and to take up so much power within ancient Egypt. So a couple years into his reign, he was Amenhotep IV for a little bit. I actually have a really cool photo which I had never seen before. So Luxor, and then Karnak Temple, and let me see if I can find it. These are all my dad's photos, so I have to find my photos. He was taking a lot of photos. This. So on one side of Karnak Temple, Amenhotep IV, before he became Akhenaten, decided to add a section, like it was very traditional for all pharaohs to do before. And this is his section. This is what is left of it. In this image, which is a little hard to see because it's not in great shape, is essentially, his head would have been here, Amenhotep IV grabbing, you can see all the different, these are all faces. You can see sort of a face right here. These are all faces of his enemies as they hold up their arms on either side, and he is grasping them by the hair, which you can still see. This is actually still painted. There's a little bit of it has been preserved. And he would have been holding something over his arm, probably a mace, or a sickle, as he is smiting these enemies. There's actually piles of them and piles of them all here. And so this is coming from when he still was Amenhotep IV, and when he was essentially still following the normal mission of the pharaoh to follow the normal way and like do all the normie kind of stuff. Sorry, I'm looking at what else I have. This is essentially the Aten, are these tiny, tiny little hands. It's essentially a sun disk with these tiny little hands coming off. Sometimes they're holding ankhs, sometimes they're not. But that is essentially like the god. The god is that. Oh yes, I do know that Romegro Beards. I'm saying, but he would do, I could tell, I know that he would do like a lot of different things. I'm not exactly sure if he could do just that, you are correct, but I know he would flip it on his head pretty much. So this is essentially, you can see here, like it's a sun disk with a Uraeus, and then these little rays are coming off of it. Now, no problem, Claire. Now, one of the things you'll notice, you see these big chunky things that look like, doesn't make any sense. This like looks like a giant watch or like a giant cuff. So each one of these are cartouches with his name on them. But you'll notice there's a good maybe a couple different inches. Hi, Mixing Mythologies. Thank you for the likes on TikTok. We're celebrating 4 years of MelissainDeNile tonight, so we're talking about the Amarna period. You can see about a couple deep inches of each of these things. And what actually this tells us is that this statue has been recarved. It actually used to be thicker, and it used to most likely depict Akhenaten in a more traditional ancient Egyptian pose. Something that probably still had his arms in this position, but it didn't have those proportions. He probably was looking really buff, and he was looking very strong, which is the typical like way to kind of depict ancient Egyptian gods and pharaohs. Oh yeah, it would be crazy. That would absolutely be crazy if Harry ever became king. I don't know if he'd do it. I don't know if he'd do it, to be honest. I feel like he would abdicate. I feel like he hated it so much. It's just not him. He never won. I've only read a little bit of Spare, but what I've read of Spare, I would absolutely never do it. He did! He absolutely had himself photoshopped. Exactly. And you can see, like, it literally would have probably gone like this, and this is probably the outer portion of the leg, and then he cinched it in. And you can see the same thing on the other one. Where's the other one? This one. So you can still see the same thing on here. And the reason that they didn't just like recarve them is because these cartouches, the name of a pharaoh, are very, very important. You see here the collarbone, how like pronounced that is. Yes, what we believe to be Akhenaten's remains have been found. They were found in this coffin, which to me, this is my favorite coffin of all time. Truly, nothing can get better, and I was crying watching this. This is like the most beautiful. I believe that they have. It is controversial, as Star says that probably not. I believe that they have. But it is a controversial thing, and they have not been confirmed to be his. But I believe they have. Maybe? I can't think of anything. I'm sure there have been, but I'm blanking to see. I know, Star. I'm not as familiar with all this thing, but I do believe that it is him. It's a whole thing. Yes. It is a whole thing. Please do your own research on it. Form your own opinions. There's lots of controversial opinions. I need to familiarize myself on it more, but I do believe that this was him. Because there has been DNA testing and stuff, but DNA testing for this ancient DNA, we don't necessarily know how DNA degrades. And so there's a lot of back and forth about these, and a lot of people are arguing back and forth. So please do your own research. That is my opinion. I do believe it is him. So, but this is his sarcophagus. As you can see, you're right, Baha. They ripped off his face. So this is the coffin of him. We do know this, but they ripped his face off because of essentially the heretics and stuff. I know, Star, but that's who I believe it is. So that's my opinion. Yes. So back to the technical question about like, why does he look like that? There are a lot of medical theories. There are a lot of theories that, I know, but also that science is not perfected, because all of that thing that they are using to base that ages on, those are on modern bodies. So that's another thing, is that like there has not been enough research, especially in like the forensic anthropology, when it comes to looking at ancient skeletons and dating those versus dating them in modern day. All of those bases are based on stuff from the 70s, and we can't really do that back thousands and thousands of years. So that is my forensic anthropologist as well opinion, that I've talked about this before, because it's just like, it's so long ago, and the way that humans have evolved, that there are absolutely changes that would have been made. And you're basing this off of, if they're doing different, like actually like testing like the bones and stuff like that, that is different, but like thousands and thousands of years ago, it's different. So, but yeah, so the reason that Akhenaten looks like this, sorry, going back to this. The reason that we believe Akhenaten looks like this, again, an art historical side of it, is that he chose to be depicted this way. I do believe, and this is more of a personal opinion, I do believe that he potentially looked a little bit like this. I don't think he looked like this 100%, but I do have some beliefs that he looked a little bit like this. There's a lot of theories that he had Marfan syndrome. The body that some believe to be Akhenaten has been tested for Marfan syndrome. They have also tested Tutankhamun's body. I believe those are both negative, so nobody does it. But the thing with how he is depicted, I do believe that there is some sort of truth in it, just because it's just kind of more of my personal opinion. Sorry, Freya, what is it? What, are you talking about what is the Karnak statue? These are Karnak statues, I believe. And so, the syndrome Marfan, Marfan. It makes, it's more common in men, if I remember correctly. It makes you very, very, very tall. And you have very, very long features, a very long face, very skinny, but also very curvaceous. It very, very much looks like this. I will say that it much looks like this. It has been one of the main theories for medical reasons why Akhenaten would be depicted like this. But when we really look into this on more, I actually think you're right. I feel like I have heard that there's an actor from Star Trek who had that. I'm not 100% sure, but that might be. I think there are a couple, yes. Honestly, let's look up what Riemann group is put in. It's a disorder of the body's connective tissues, a group of tissues that maintain the structure of the body and support internal organs and other tissues. So being tall, abnormally long and slender limbs, fingers and toes. There are heart defects, and like, lens dislocation. There's a lot of this. It is a genetic disorder that you can get. And there's unfortunately like no cure. It's 1 in 5,000 people in the UK, because that's how Raymond Gerbeard said that and stuff. But really, it's like there are heart problems. So actually, to be honest, my mom, for a really long time, thought my brother has Marfan's. Not my brother, my youngest brother, who did have heart problems and then has a brain injury from there. But 1 in 5,000. Sorry, I said 1 in 5,000. Oh, you think you might have a star? Yeah. That's very interesting. Yeah, it's common, but it's something that like it is debilitating in some ways, but it's not, there are obviously diseases that are much more debilitating. So like, chances are if you've seen a very, very tall person, they could have it. My mom really thought that my other brother had it for a while because in comparison to me and my youngest brother, Joe, Steven is very, very tall and very, very very, very thin. I don't think so, because the thing is like, unless you have like the bad problems of it, you just seem like you're really, really tall. So I'm not sure. I think there's a chance that people might not know about it. I think it seems to be more common. I've heard about people knowing about it, talking about it more. But there are lots of other theories. There's a whole section, I think, of Akhenaten's Wikipedia that lists out tons of the different things that people thought he had. But on an art historical side, the reason that we believe that he looks like this, obviously my personal opinion, I think a small portion of that is because he looked something like this, a little bit like this. But the other side is that his sort of religion that he is bringing up and kind of semi-starting is all about the Aten. The Aten is one of the only ancient Egyptian gods that is genderless. It has no gender. It doesn't even have like an actual body. It's not a human. It's not an animal. It's not a combination. It is just the sun. It is just the sun with these little tiny hands that reach out to you. And he, in the way that a lot of art historians talk about it, we talk about how he wanted to reflect that genderless being, and that he is seen as sort of the prophet of Aten. He is seen as like the middleman, essentially, which technically is how all ancient Egyptian pharaohs are. They are seen as the son of Ra, and thus the person who like is closest to the gods and stuff. But this is a little bit different. It's more on this like prophet of the Aten. And so we believe that one of the main reasons he may have wanted to depict himself in this way is to kind of show that the Aten is everywhere, including in me, and that thus we are all one. We are all genderless. We are all kind of in this interesting like predicament. Going back to the coffin briefly, if you look very closely at this, where's this picture? That's Tutankhamun's mask. Plain and simple. That is almost the exact same construction. That is very, very close to how Tutankhamun's mask was made. And the pattern that's on this is the same pattern on one of Tutankhamun's. This pattern down here, it's on one of Tutankhamun's coffins as well. And when you look down here, you will also see that the cartouche in the center, right there, has been carved out and removed. And then this is the bottom part, although the wood portion is missing as well. So there's a crazy story about this. It was found somewhere really weird. And then they reconstructed it and they sort of realized, wait a second, this like could be the bottom coffin of this. It's very odd, but what else was I going to show you guys? So here you can see Nefertiti here and Akhenaten wearing the blue crown, and you can see the tiny little hands bringing them Ankh, bringing them life, and kind of holding them as the Aten is in the sky above them. You can also see one of their little daughters down here. When it comes to the weird shaped heads, I have not really found a theory as much that kind of makes sense, unfortunately. So it's kind of hard. Like, I don't really know why. I don't know why. I really have no, like, it could be literally a head binding thing like you see in some like South American ancient cultures. I just don't know. You only really see it in children, and you only really see it in his daughters. Because as it is, you don't really see a lot of other children being depicted in Amarna art, but you see the daughters a lot. I don't know. I've never really gotten it. Oh yeah, so here's the story, which is amazing. These gold foils found in a tomb in the Valley of the Kings were stored in the Cairo Museum waiting for restoration. They disappeared between 1915 and 1931. In the late 70s, they were offered on the Swiss market, which means somebody stole them from the museum and donated them. No, I don't believe so in Egypt. Baha. It's a very good question. I don't believe we have. In the 80s, the Egyptian Museum in Munich studied them, and after many attempts restoring them on a plexiglass body, in October 2001, they were shown to the public for the first time in Munich. An agreement was reached between the Egyptian Ministry of Culture and the Bavarian Authority to bring the box back home. And here's unfortunately a missing portion, but here you can see that Nemez headdress, but he also, I think, is still wearing the upper and lower crown as well. Yeah, he would have been. These are canopic jars from that time period. Kind of what Star was saying, that like this is the same wig that's on that. And so probably that coffin was made for a woman. But Star, let me just pose this. Akhenaten is pictured genderless in a lot of ways. There could be the chance that he was just pictured with a female wig. Oh, the statue has the tripartite wig. Yeah. That is true. I guess I was looking at that and I was like, that doesn't look like the Nemes headdress, but yeah. Other options. Amarna letters, which is a whole other thing that I would love to talk about on another discussion stream. Probably our next discussion stream. I would love to talk about the Amarna letters. Here's some better photos that my dad took. It's just so pretty. But they totally scraped all the gold off of this. The thing about it is it has a female wig, but it has a beard. That's my problem. Like, why would it have a beard, though? Like, granted, I guess they could have added the beard when they changed it to him, but it has a beard, so... I think this is his. But then it's like, at that point, like, you don't know. Like, how do we know that that's a later addition? Sorry, I'm gonna... What was the other thing I realized I should show you guys? There was also... Where was their other Amarna period stuff? There was also... Was there stuff in Great Egyptian? I mean, there probably was. I'm trying to think if there was anything specific. I think there was one. one Amarna statue, but let me go to the one. Actually, you know what? I have other pictures of Amarna stuff. Oh, let's go to Germany. That's a good idea. Oh wait, no. Oh my god, I have too many files. Don't look at my files. Images. Yes. Oh my god, do I not have a... These are like my specific archaeology and museum images that I've like moved over so that I can use for stuff, and I literally... How do I not have a Berlin one? Oh no, I do have Berlin. Okay, I was like, what? What the heck? Alright, let's quickly look through these, because I have not looked through these in forever. Oh, the Dendro ceiling, but a replica. That's my friend Abigail. We went to Germany together. Some of these are not going to be Egyptian. There's some Egyptian. God, this quality is so bad. Oh, a nice pot. Isn't that nice? Ramesu. That's Rim. Or no. Ma'at's Men Ra. Or Men Ma'at's Ra? Okay. I don't know who that is. That's Nefertari. Ramses II's wife. Right? Is that Nefertari? Who's the other Nefertari? Almost Nefertari. Different one. I will close the tab for Marfan syndrome. You're right. Almost Nefertari. Sostres III. I can remember some of these. That's Hatshepsut. I can know that one. All right, so here's the Amarna room. Berlin did a ton of excavations in Amarna, and slightly, yes, definitely conned a lot of items out to put in the Berlin Museum, including the bust of Nefertiti, which I don't have pictures of because they don't allow you to take pictures of it. This is the famous bust of TA. I wish that was a better quality photo. And then these are tons of different plaster busts, if not possibly masks of the royal family of Amarna. Mainly, these were all found in one site within Amarna that was the workman. It was not the workman, the sculptor's workshop. This is the same place where the bust of Nefertiti was, and so we have, in this case, we have Nefertiti and we have Akhenaten. These are definitely potentially really what they look like. Or very, very close to, because obviously this sculptor was carving a lot of images of them. And so this is why, if you look at this guy, he doesn't look as crazy as he looked in a lot of things, but he does still have that very, very long, round face. He still has those very thick lips. And you do have, no, I have the poster, which is right behind this chair, but I do not have, unfortunately, a photo of myself with it. I really tried to get a photo like long down the hallway and it didn't work either. That's a beautiful, beautiful piece. I don't think I took a picture of the sign that goes with that. You know what I realized? I never looked through any of these to see if they have dogs. It's a very good thing that I should look through. A monkey! Here's a monkey. This is not Amarna period. Well, so one of the things that does carry over into later periods is the fingies. There's very, very curvy fingers that happen afterwards. Spyglasses. I know I do. Alright. We're getting to non-Egyptian stuff, but oh god. These are the beautiful items found at Troy. And there's his wife wearing. This is all Schliemann's shit. They're beautiful. I mean, they're absolutely, absolutely beautiful, but never let your wife wear historical artifacts. Alright, we're continuing through. I'm trying to find more Egypt stuff. There has to be more Amarna stuff in this folder. There's some more Egyptian stuff. Wow, Melissa doesn't know how to take a... There we go. Better photo. That's a really cool one. I don't remember that one. Melissa doesn't know how to take photos. Here's Akhenaten as well. So again, like, it seems more realistic, but it's still a little kind of crazy. And like this one. I think these are literally trial pieces of like the sculptor sculpting Akhenaten's face, and Akhenaten continuously like sending it back and saying, no, I want something different. No, I want you to change this or add this, because they're all just a little bit different. This is probably Nefertiti or possibly one of the daughters of Akhenaten. Which one does this say? Nefertiti. And so it says here, unfinished head of statue of Nefertiti with brushstrokes for further corrections. So like things that they're like, okay, well, you need to carve and you need to make your cheeks better. You need to carve these out. And like, these are all like corrections that are actually made by the artist, which are really, really cool to look at. Oh, I forgot about this one. It's one of my favorite. There's something so lovely and simple about it. Which I know it's like obviously not, that's not what the piece was. The piece was obviously some very loving like group, but like holding hands like that, there's a lot of affection in a lot of the Amarna stuff that is not seen as well. Like kissing and hugging and family scenes where they're like actually looking like they like each other. Very cool. Potentially, probably Tutankhamun. Maybe. Very interesting. And then they have these beautiful stucco scenes as well, that are on the walls of the... So here's one of the most famous pieces. There's a similar one that I showed that's at the Cairo Museum, but this one is the one that's here. So you have Nefertiti, you have Akhenaten, you have the Aten reaching out, and then you have his three out of his 4 daughters. One is very small and sitting here, but like he's kissing this child, she's sitting on the lap, and then this one's like caressing her mother's cheek. It's so just not what Egypt does. Like this breaks so many, like all of the different stuff that you see in other ancient Egyptian art. You know what I just realized? It says incoming ad break. I thought these were ads the entire time. I'm snoozing that one. I snoozed it for 5 minutes so I could keep talking. And this is also one of my favorite ones. So this is actually supposedly Tutankhamun, and probably his half-sister. It was found in Amarna, which is the site that Akhenaten built an entire new city. It was found at this site. I'll pull up some maps in a second. It was found within a sculptor's workshop. So all of these, not all of these pieces, but all of, which ones? These were all found with them in the same room. This is the Berlin Museum. This is the Berlin Museum. It's not Egyptian art. I can't remember what it's specifically called, but all of these things were found in that workshop. And the bust of Nefertiti is almost just like, it's supposed to be a sculptor's model. It's not supposed to be a beautiful piece. It is a sculptor's model. That is what the bust of Nefertiti is for. But I love this one. It's very similar to some other images of Tutankhamun that you will see, but it is him with a crutch. So like, I don't care. Some people get really angry about like, Tutankhamun didn't have a club foot, blah, 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 blah. They go into all the medical stuff. I'll give a little brief description of probably what happened to it, but the Tutankhamun had something wrong with his foot. I don't care if he had a club foot. I don't care if he had something else. If he's depicted with crutches, he had something wrong with his foot. Okay, let's go to this. trying to see which... Okay, let's go to this image. So this is what Amarna looks like and what has been done in excavations. So here's the Nile. Amarna was not anything before Akhenaten. There was maybe a small village, but not much. Yeah, so the bust... Oh yeah, yes. So what happened in ancient times that meant that the bust was still left there? Yes, that is a very good what-if question. Absolutely. But yes, you're right, HD. That's the other thing that I point out to people. Nobody would be buried with over 100 canes if you didn't have a foot problem. No one would do that, and that is my other thing. Absolutely. So the thing with Amarna is that the city that they built was probably only occupied for around 14 years, maybe a little bit longer, but only 14 years. It's just a test piece. No, it's 100% true. It's just a test piece. So this is what we have mapped of the city today. As Star was saying, they only occupied this place for about 14 years. The entire place was abandoned, not necessarily after the death of Akhenaten, but a few years after, potentially like 2 to 3. No, we do not. Like, I think people think that the bust of Nefertiti is the final piece because it is definitely more finished than a lot of the other pieces in the sculptor's model, but it's unclear. It is probably potentially that is a next step piece. It wasn't really a thing. Like, you either had the full statue of yourself or you had a Ka statue, which is like a full statue of yourself that would be placed in your tomb. I have seen certain versions where they chop you off at like your waist, but that's like Old Kingdom. That's not this time period. So like busts are not a thing, kind of. It's really full statues that would have been placed in temples. And that's the other thing. You also have to imagine most of this art, and we're using big quotation marks, most of this art is not art. It is ritualized things. Like, they are not using this to decorate their house. Yeah, and there are the reserve heads, and there's like there are things like that, but yeah, you're right, those are Old Kingdom things. Not really practiced during the New Kingdom. But like, art is not art during this time period. Everything is done for a specific, usually ritualistic purpose, but you could also say spiritual purpose, for either communicating with the dead, for offering things for the dead, for preserving what you looked like at a certain time so that that the gods would know what you looked like at the certain time. Like, I am not just doing art for art. Everything that is considered art in ancient Egypt has some sort of function. Whether that is a physical function of like, this is a really, really pretty cane, but its true function is to help me walk, or on the more spiritual side, this thing is going to help me do this like in the afterlife, pretty much. So this is what the city looks like. Because this was occupied for such a short time, yes, it always comes back to it. Absolutely. Ancient Egypt that's all what it was. We don't have as much evidence. Yes, there are some cases where you have, like, I showed you guys, like, plaster work that you would see on temples, or plaster work that you see in houses and palaces. There's a lot that's here in Amarna. And while, like, yeah, some of it is more just nature scenes and stuff, everything still has a meaning. And so, like, they would be decorated, but they would be decorated with very specific decorations. Like, everything would have a reason to do it. But it's also what you could afford, what you could get. But a lot of it is for specific reasons as well. But yeah, not nearly as much. Not a lot of people could be able to do it. Sorry, there's an ad. Oh god, it's already 11. All right, we gotta end soon. So this is what the city looks like. Amarna is going to be our topic for discussion in a couple different things. All of the things in even a vanity would probably be decorated for like ritualistic reasons as well. Hi Ashley. Hello, my love. Thank you so much for stopping by. We're talking about the Amarna period in celebration of 4 years. So this is what the city looks like. You have the North City, which is a whole separate city complex. I was drinking for so long. That's just me, man. Just drinking through the ad. So this is kind of the whole city. I cannot believe it, Ashley. I can't. Sometimes it feels like it went by really fast and sometimes it went really, really slow. Yeah, like it feels like sometimes it's like crazy. So a lot of this area, a lot of this area has been either cultivated both in ancient times or in modern times. So there is probably much more of this city that has been either destroyed by cultivation or is under current cultivation. But we have a lot of different neighborhoods or areas in the city. It is one of the most, because it was only occupied for that short amount of time, and even though there is a lot of cultivation that is covering portions of it, a lot of it is still semi-preserved. A lot of it is still accessible and not covered. The key thing with this, though, is that because it was only occupied for 14 years, it was both abandoned and the pharaohs after Tutankhamun wanted to erase Akhenaten's existence off the earth. Memento mori, or damnatio mori, very similar, which is a concept not coming from Egypt, but similar. So they were sent to come in and totally like raze this place, destroy it, destroy any sort of Akhenaten temples that were not in Amarna, like in Luxor or in Thebes, and really just try to carve his name off of everything. So unfortunately, this site is mostly in bad shape because of what later pharaohs were doing to it, and also reusing pieces from those, because hey, now we can't use it, we don't need it to have it up on the wall anymore, but we can reuse it for other things. So we have the North City over here. We also have something called the North Palace. We have some desert altars over here. We do have some tombs, and we do have some tombs that are preserved. I'll show some pictures. It's not a lot, and the Amarna project, we can go on their website. It is the best resource. They've done a good amount of reconstruction, but there's not much. And that's why whenever you look at Amarna art, you will normally notice that it is destroyed. There are very few pieces of Amarna art that are in pristine condition. If you even look at the bust of Nefertiti, she is missing an eye and a small portion of one of her ears. That is probably from more wear and tear rather than the like pure destruction. Like I was showing you those in Akhenaten statues. There's a whole like section of his torso that's just totally missing, and we just don't know where it is. So then you have the north suburb. You have the central city. This long thing is the main temple, which is attached to the palace. Then you have the main city here, along with the southern suburb. And then there's a couple random little things that kind of are poking out. You got the workmen's village, which is probably the oldest portion of this area. It was probably because workmen were sent out here much earlier than when the king moved out here so that they could start to build this entire city. The workmen's village, we should literally do an entire stream about because it's so interesting and it is so different from the rest of this place. It is a very, very interesting place. You can see there is some royal tombs further out, and there are some south tombs. This whole area around the workmen's village has also been excavated recently by the Amarna project. R.I.P. Barry Kemp. Barry Kemp was the head of the Amarna project. He just passed away a couple weeks ago. When I did this senior thesis project, I actually emailed him and I got responses, and he was very lovely. I will actually say I have now been connected to one of the other archaeologists who actually lives very close by to me and works at a university nearby to me, which is why I got connected, because I met somebody else who works in the department with her. So I have now been connected with Jacqueline Williamson, who is a Egyptologist and who works on the Amarna project. So love that for me. I don't know exactly what we will do with that connection, but I am very glad to have it. There's also a thing called the Maro Aten. It is very interesting. It is very unclear what this place is, but it is down here. This site has been fully excavated and then fully covered over, so we can really never go back. And then you will see that there are all of these red dots and letters. These are called boundary stela. They are big carvings of big declarations of Akhenaten declaring these are like the edges of the city, sort of, but they do all have like texts that you can read where they're like, I had it in a vision and I wanted to, like, it's so like a little crazy. It's a little crazy, like politicizing and prophesizing and lots of different stuff like that. I'm gonna go through these images because I don't remember what these are. So I've briefly mentioned it sometimes, but not a lot. Oh God, that's a really bad image. I wrote this senior thesis, and I wanted to talk about how often when people are talking about the Amarna period, this is something that my boss taught me. There are 3 tiers of information that you can give people. Tier 1 is going to be the simplest and the shortest amount of information. Tier 2 goes a little bit deeper, and Tier 3 goes really, really deep. And so it's something that we use to like help make our tours, where it's like, okay, what tier of information am I trying to give people? Am I trying to give them the surface level information, or a little bit deeper, or a little bit deeper than that? I find when people are learning about the Amarna period, usually in a tier 1 section, because they are also learning about the entirety of ancient Egyptian history in like less than a week, sometimes even in only 2 classes, like in college. When you learn about it in that tier 1 information, you hear that Akhenaten changed everything and he decided that there was only one God. And there was only one God, and thus, all you could do was worship that God. And in some cases, I have seen where teachers and professors have essentially like put on this persona that you would get in trouble if you worshipped other gods. And that is not true. That is not true, unfortunately. Essentially, Akhenaten has cut off any access to other gods in like the grand scheme of things, of like going to really large temples and going to do all of this stuff. But there are lots and lots and lots of household gods that never have big temples. Very rarely have big temples, are kind of just normal. We call them household deities because for the most part they are protecting women and children and childbirth and the home and things like that. And so the thing with this is that I wanted to kind of prove that statement wrong and say, hey, no, yes, they were allowed to worship, or no, they were not allowed to worship other gods. So I focused on objects that are found in Amarna that do not have anything to do with the Aten, and where they were found, and potentially if there were certain groups of people that had more access to be able to worship other gods in different ways, as well as using it as at the time I was learning about quiet resistance. I was learning this more in a context of the African diaspora and how enslaved Africans in all across the world during the colonial period would do these acts of quiet resistance to try to either show their agency and try to kind of show their power, that they are not just an enslaved person. And I thought about it that maybe the acts of continuing to worship the other gods in a place where it maybe not it's not the worst. Like, I don't think we have any records that people get arrested or hanged or like anything like that. But using this in a way so that this is the quiet resistance of these people, and also looking at the artifacts and saying, well, which ones are quiet resistance and which ones are not quiet resistance or loud resistance. So I found objects like this. A lot of these, right, that I was showing before, these are amulets, which are really bad images of them. But like this is a stela that has the goddess Taweret and has a young woman and what looks like a young boy and stuff giving offerings to Taweret. And this was found in a house in a certain area. And so I put these all on a map. Here's a little Hathor. Most of the gods I was looking at were Bes, Taweret, and Hathor. There's a Hathor bowl. There's Taweret again. This was an amazing Hathor necklace that was found. There's Bes. This is a whole necklace of Bes symbols. And then this is extremely interesting. This is a mold. This is a mold made for making. In this case, this one right here is a Bes amulet. So this is not only telling me that the option is that these could have been essentially heirlooms of the family that they brought with them from wherever they came from to live in the city, and they just kept these things. But this proves that they were making things, that they were making these things in Amarna to be able to do it. I lean the latter. Because he didn't really create it from scratch. The Aten is something already. He didn't invent a new god. I think he... maybe a little bit of both, but I definitely lean towards the earlier way. Just because a lot of the texts that he talks about, like... he talks about having this like kind of religious experience and stuff, and I don't think he really wanted to control people. I don't think he did. If he did, I would expect them to punish people if they worship other gods, and that does not seem to appear to have happened because we have this worship that's very evident. So there's another amulet, Hathor head, mold for a Bes figurine, Bes again, Hathor, Bes. Just keeps on going. Taweret, Bes. Okay, so in comparison, this is where Amarna is. Amarna is dead center in the middle of everything. So there's Cairo. Giza is just below it. Dashur and all that is right here. Then you have the Fayum Oasis. Then all the way down here you have Luxor. Abydos is a really, really old ancient city. And Tel Amarna is way here in the right middle. It's a very random place. I don't know how he chose this, because he's going from Luxor as being the capital. Okay, so this is where everything gets batshit crazy. Jeff, absolutely batshit crazy. So, I wanted to map all of these places where all of these objects were found as close to where they were found. And there was a book that I could get access to that the Amarna project had published with all of these different buildings and all of these different areas and all these different maps. It was not digital. That is one of the reasons I emailed Barry Kemp. I was like, do you happen to have a digital version of this that you could send me? And he was like, no. And I was like, cool, great, awesome. So while I was working at the Brooklyn Museum, I went and I took pictures. I put it out on a giant table. I stood up really high. I took pictures. I scanned it. And then I printed them out, and then I taped them together. And then I individually went and I put little dots where all of the different objects were found. Individually in each little house. The M is for Melissa. I don't even know what the M is for. This was so long ago. I have these somewhere. They're in one of those folders over there. The physical pieces of this. But you can see these are all the numbers and where all of the objects are found. And then I think the colors are based on the god. I can't remember. So there are not a lot. There are not a lot of texts that really talk about it. The boundary stela are some of the biggest ones. There have been other things. I'm kind of blanking. The biggest one is called the Amarna letters. The Amarna letters was a cache, which essentially means a hoarding of these letters that are actually in cuneiform on tablets, and they were found in a cache in Amarna that had been destroyed, but they were kind of preserved, and they give a lot of stuff. Mainly they are actually letters. They are going back and forth. Again, this is an entire discussion stream that we should do. Amarna letters. Everyone write this down. We're going to do an Amarna letters one. We're going to do a Workman's Village one. We're going to do one where we actually delve into my paper, because we're going to have to wrap up pretty soon because my throat is really hurting. But like, these are certain portions of what this town looked like. So you can see it says East Road South, the High Priest Street. The thing about Amarna that is very confusing. Oh yeah, we're in the Amarna series. Absolutely. Amarna series, for sure. The thing about Amarna is that, let me see if I have a picture of the palace. No, that's Maro Aten. This is the North City. This is, I don't know what that is. I'm blanking. Is this the palace? Where the heck is the palace? That's the South Palace. That's not what I'm looking for. That's the Workman's Village. That's the Walled Village. These are all temples outside of it. These are all temples to other gods, to not the Aten. All right, I'm blanking. I can't figure it out. But the key thing is that this is probably it. No, I don't think it is. The main buildings, so like the palace and the temple, this is the North City, but this is similar. These large buildings are built out of good quality stone. They are built very well. But when you get to, where's a good picture? This. So see how these ones are all like lining up on the road, and these are all really well organized. And then you just have these, which have like no roads, nothing else. Essentially, these would have been the big officials' houses that they would have come in advance or talked to workmen to be able to make it ahead of time. And then the rest of these are essentially like makeshift houses that those who are not in the upper class were just like making to fill in all of the spots. He sort of did. Those are kind of what the boundary stela talk about, and we can read that. If somebody goes into the Discord and goes to discussion stream suggestions, can you guys write down Amarna letters, the Workman's Village, and the boundary stela of Amarna, the boundary texts of Amarna, because we can look into all of those, and I want to make sure I don't forget those. But yeah, so this is my entire project. My professor kind of thought I was crazy, but that's okay. I think, are these the survey pages? Survey maps. I think this is the full map that that I took pictures of. These are the full maps. So this is the North Administrative Buildings, the Northern City. Where'd my mouse go? And you can see like unfinished tomb in encarpment, small niches to encarpment. So there's the North Administration Building. And then you come over here, and this is the North City, the Great Gateway, the North Riverside Palace. Yeah, always check the Amarna project website. They're always doing stuff, but and they put out a lot of their stuff free on their website. Thank you, Lena. Thanks for adding those. Go to the next page. Oh god, it's too zoomed in. Oh, I think there's multiple pages of all of these. Alright, so here is the north suburb, which has a lot of roads, which are nice. North suburb, north suburb. Okay, here we go. This is what I want. Oh wait, nope, I wanted it that direction. So this is the central city. So you can see here, there are barracks here in the middle. There's the House of the King's statue. Rubbish heaps, barracks, and you can just see sherds. And then you get like really up close and personal to this. Oh wait, shit, I did the wrong thing. I need to zoom. First sequester of the Ottenpest, gravel ridges. So then you get to like, these are magazines. These are things that would just hold supplies. You got the bakery over here. This is the Royal Road. And the thing is, it says Petrie Museum over painted pavement ruined. So there is some area here, but this is the big honkin' deal. So this is the king's house. This is where the king would live. You have the small Aten temple over here. You have a records office, the House of Life, like a mummification house. And there's a bridge. There was a bridge that went over the Royal Road that went directly into the big palace, or the big temple. And so this is a portion of the Great Palace and the temple. And the bridge would have had a window called the window of appearances, and there are multiple depictions of Akhenaten sitting in the window of appearance throwing treasures essentially down to his posse, his people. Yes, I apologize, House of Life is a library. I got mixed up with the mummification house. I can't see anything. That's the barracks. So then here we have the main city north. I wonder if this shows the... I need to see if it says the workshop, which I can look up the word for it, or like the location of it, and I could probably find it on this map, but it's somewhere here. This is more... Ah, here we go. There it is. Right there. That is... Can you see that in the center? Right under the Q48, there's a little thing saying Sculptor's Workshop. Right here. And his name was Tutmos. We do know, I think, the name of the sculptor was Tutmos. This whole thing over here was the Sculptor's Workshop, and this is where all of the different busts, including the bust of Nefertiti, were found in this tiny little area off of the East Road south. Oh, and then we have General Ramosa. We think he had a house there as well. This is another workshop. I just can't read what that word says. sorry, I'm turning all sections. So yeah, here's the workshop again. Sculptor's workshop right there. That's where it was, just that little room. Oh, there's another sculptor's workshop over here. I'm pretty sure, I gotta check, but I'm pretty sure that's the specific one where it was found. It could be this one, but I don't think it's that one. I always remembered it being very tiny. And cute. Ah. I'm losing my marbles. I'm getting sleepy. So this is how it kind of, all those map sheets like fit together, and like the true grid, and then the excavator's grid. So you can see there's lots of different, so it's like Waddington grid, Clark grid, Waddington, German Emery grid, and what all the different surveys mean. And I think, is this me taking pictures? I think I took a picture. Yeah, I did take scans of like the entire book, which I always forget that I have. There's 92 pages in this. No, a lot of the workshop was intact. That should also, somebody add that to the list as well. I might need to look into that a little bit more, but we can find an article that reads about it. Or the other thing is, I have a lot of different resources and stuff that we could look at. All right, the last thing that I'm gonna show you guys, because like, see, I have a whole bunch of sources. We can look at some of these different things as we go through. The last things I want to show you is that on the Amarna project website, they had this, which I don't know if you can still find, but this is something called their small finds database. It's an enormous Excel spreadsheet with essentially all of these tiny small finds and where they were found, and sometimes they get very, very, very specific. And so that is why in this is when I started searching. Oh, look! Melissa remembered charts. What is the name for chaos? Oh, Isfet. Isfet is the name for chaos. I totally forgot that I did this. Oh my god. I love making charts. So this was what I went through. As I love making charts, I love making Excel spreadsheets. This is not even joking. This is exactly what I did for my master's thesis. So number of objects per god per source. So in the small finds database, there were 91 Bess, 33 Hathor, 29 Taweret, 153. Busy Lives at Amarna had a few Akhenaten's workers, and then a specific excavation report, as well as one in another article. So I had counted on 193. There were 115 of Bess, 40 of Hathor, 38 of Taweret, and then the number of types. The vast majority were pendants and amulets. Then there were some bezels and rings. There were a lot of vessels, trial pieces, molds, figurines, statuettes, necklaces, ritual items, decorative element, architectural element, and stela. The types of Bess, there were mostly pendants. There's a lot of pendants. But Hathor's are more vessels, which I think is interesting. And Taweret was mostly pendants as well. And then this is the most interesting thing I had, which is where the objects were found. 89 were found in the main city, 68 were found in the north suburb, 6 in the central city, 3 in the workman's village, 16 in the stone village, 1 in Maro Aten, which we will talk about if we talk about this more in detail, because that is an interesting and wild story that I will never get, unfortunately, an explanation for. 5 at the North Palace and 5 at the North City. And then there's like, where are all these Besses found? Most of these are found in the main city. The vast majority of best ones are found in the main city. But then I made all these charts. I forgot about this. I made so many charts. I love making charts. So yeah, so this was like this is their small find stuff, and I think I copied over. Are these all of the? Yeah, these are all the different specific Hathor or whatever specific objects. I think that is where we're gonna have to end because I do have to go to work tomorrow and it's 11:22.